gorilla, nature. Bro, let's go skate. Dude, E equals MC squared. Nerd for life. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of The Struggling Christian. I am so excited. I am your host, Darius, Pastor Darius, and today we're going to be talking about a very special subject. In today's episode, we're going to be talking. Today's episode is titled "Old Habits Equal New Problems." Now, for a lot of people, right, habits are how they live their life. We all have habits, some good, some bad, and to be honest, this specific episode is about the bad habits. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Habit is defined as a settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. Now, I know that applies to all of us because, as I said, all of us have good and bad habits. Now, let's look at the psychology definition of habit: an automatic reaction to a specific situation. Wow, very interesting, right? So, I was reading a book. I've been reading this book for about the last, maybe 3-4 weeks or so. I like to read many books at one time. So yeah, this book is called Mental Health Crusader. From Mental Health Crusader, Storm Your Mind and Take Back Your Mental Health, right? Found on Amazon Kindle. And it's written by Nick Salupo. That's the name. His name is Nick Salupo. So what I want to read is a chapter from his book. The specific chapter that I'm looking at is it's called Thinking Pattern: Self-Berating from Part 4. Know Thyself. So let's go ahead and get right into that. The author wrote, Stupid. I used to play in an indoor soccer league, and that's what one of the players on an opposing team would loudly say to himself. However, it doesn't need to be said out loud. Self-berating most often takes place strictly in your mind. Do you find that you automatically say harsh things to yourself you would never say to someone else? Yet you speak to yourself in these ways on a regular, ongoing basis. If you were shamed as a child, especially for your feelings, it can then be easy as an adult to think something is wrong with you. Feelings are so natural, such a normal part of human DNA. That to shame a person for their feelings is the same is to shame them for being human. I understand you may not have been directly shamed for being human, but if you were shamed for your feelings, the underlying message is loud and clear. Your humanness isn't okay. From here, the self-berating thinking pattern naturally takes off on the crusade to take back your mental health. This pattern can stop you in your tracks just as you're making some headway. When self-berating arises, you must see it for what it is: a short-lived burst having no reinforcements. If the initial burst takes you out, divisiveness has successfully used it against you. However, if the initial burst is blocked with your shield of self-unity, you'll move forward unaffected. Self-berating holds you back because it triggers shame. Once shame is triggered, you'll be down for the count. At least that's the plan. Divisiveness has in mind. The key is to be aware of what you're saying to yourself and question its truth. For example, you might say, I'm worthless and unlovable, or I'm weak. I'm a weak loser idiot. From here, notice, normally you roll with it, assuming these statements to be true. After you notice more deeply. That is, don't get caught up in the thought. Become aware of the bodily sensation associated with self-berating. Will be an underlying feeling such as anger, frustration, or even sadness. Once you notice the underlying feeling, feel it. Let it move through you. Imagine it expressing itself out of you. A client once said, now, when I'm feeling something throughout the day, I don't fight it. I just let myself feel it and then move on. It's much easier than trying to hold it down all day long. Let's review the steps. Notice the self-berating thinking pattern. Notice more deeply what feeling is beneath the pattern. Allow the feeling to run through your body. Consider the underlying feeling to be the first. Now, consider the underlying feeling to be the fuel that perpetrates the self-berating thoughts. If the fuel source is removed, you deflate the thinking pattern. This is why cognitive behavioral therapy often doesn't work, because people are trying to change their thoughts without addressing the feelings responsible for driving those thoughts. Wow, incredible, right? Wow, that was a mouthful right there. To be honest, there's really one portion that I really liked, and that was the part where Nick was saying that self-berating holds you back because it triggers shame. Once shame is triggered, you'll be down for the count. At least that's the plan divisiveness has in mind. The key is to be aware of what you're saying to yourself and question its truth. See, I really want to focus on that part. We need to be aware of the thing and through our actions. You know, thoughts are in your head. They start in your head, but the more consistently, right? Everything is about patterns. That's when I'm talking about a habit, right? If you consistently, doing something consistently is developing a pattern for whatever that is, whether it be a actual action or whether it be, something that is just a continual thought that you continuously think in your brain, and you allow it to manifest into reality, into your reality. I've noticed that there are a lot of people who specifically, I want to talk about individuals who are allowing their thoughts to become their reality. We need to learn to control the thoughts that we have, right? The moment that bad thoughts come into your mind, you need to stop yourself and say, is this for the betterment of me as a whole, right? We need to really ask ourselves that. A lot of the time, we need to ask ourselves that. Is this for the betterment of me as a whole, right? Or maybe is this just something that is a passing thought? Because we beat ourselves up a lot of time. A lot of people beat themselves up over things that are passing thoughts. Something that may be here right now, but in a week or 2 weeks from now, that same thought may not be there anymore, right? We need to control those thoughts. We can't allow those thoughts to control us, right? So let's go ahead and move a little bit forward, right? What I want to do is I want to jump into a Bible verse, right? This is Wisdom of Solomon. And this is chapter 2 in the Wisdom in Solomon. This is in the Apocrypha, right? This is, I don't know, for those who haven't heard of the Apocrypha is in the Catholic Bible. So let's go forth and, just go ahead on into it, right? So I'm going to start at the beginning, right? It says, wicked people are wrong when they say to themselves, our life is short and full of sorrow. And when it ends when its end comes, there is no escape. No one has ever known to come back from the world of the dead. We were born by chance, and after life is over, we will be as if we had never been born at all. Our breath is no more than a puff of smoke. Our mind is nothing more than a spark thrown off by the beating of our heart. Oh, interesting. When that spark dies, our body will crumble into ash, and our breath will become part of the empty air. In time, no one will remember anything we ever did, and even our names will be forgotten. Our lives will pass away like the traces of clouds and vanish like fog in the heat of the sun. Our time on earth is like a passing shadow. There is no escape from the day of our death. It is fixed, and no one can postpone it. The wicked say, come on, then let's enjoy the good things of life and live in the world the way we did when we were young and free of care. Let's drink the most expensive wines and use the finest perfumes. Let's not miss a single flower in the springtime. Before the roses wither, let's pick them and wear them in our hair. Let's all join in and leave signs everywhere of our carefree revelry. Life owes us that much. We'll oppress the poor, even if they are righteous. We'll show no respect for widows or old people. We'll call ourselves right if we are strong enough to get what we want. No one ever got anywhere by being weak. Wow. That is crazy right there. That's like a really crazy way to think. I really want to look at, I want to go back to the portion where they were talking about, where was it? When they were talking about enjoying lives. I noticed that, there are a lot of people who are using this logic in their daily reality, right? They're saying that they've said to themselves that, life is short, right? We're only here for a short period of time. When we die, nobody may not even realize that we lived, right? And they're like, let's just live for today, right? YOLO, you only live once, right? And the bad part about this way of thinking is sometimes people find themselves doing things that with short term, they make short term decisions that have long term. Pretty much they have they're going to have to suffer a long term for the short term decision that they made, right? They made a decision within a snap of a finger, and it has long-term implications, right? So, a prime example of this would be like a person who chooses, when a lot of people, when they're young is when habits begin. A lot of people are introduced into their bad habits at a very young age, when they're 13, 14, or 15 years old. And, sometimes it comes from people who they think care about them. They make friends, and their friends get into something, so they get into it too. So, and honestly, like a prime example, I'm just going to go with cigarettes, right? A lot of people, they make the decision to smoke the cigarette, right? And the first time they smoke it, they're like, oh my gosh, this tastes nasty. This is terrible, right? Oh man, oh, this is horrible. Like, why would anybody do this, right? But if you keep hanging around the same people, right, over time, as you hang around, you smoke another cigarette, and then after a while, right, you find yourself like, oh man, I don't want to be without a cigarette. And personally, I remember I started smoking cigarettes. I tried smoking cigarettes when I was young. I was like, oh, this is terrible. But I kept smoking cigarettes. And then it got to the point where it became a habit, like I just didn't feel right without smoking cigarettes, to be honest. Like I just really didn't feel right without it. Whenever I was stressed out or when I was going through something, right, I would go to class, get out of class, smoke a cigarette, and then I would feel better. That's literally how it went for me. Like, I would go through something stressful, and then, I would go smoke a cigarette, and then boom, I would instant de-stress, and it got to the point where I was hanging around people and we were smoking packs of cigarettes a day. I mean, like straight up just running through packs of cigarettes a day. And it was one of the hardest things to get out of, to stop smoking cigarettes. It was really hard, but God is great, so I'm very blessed that I was able to get out of that. And I haven't smoked in, I don't even know, 5-6 years. It's been some time. I have, and I understand that type of struggle. So with that, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and we'll continue in, our Bible study here. Oh, and welcome back. We are picking up where we left off here. This is the second portion of the podcast. So pretty much we read through, and we talked right now we're in the Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, right? So let's go ahead and pick up where we left off. We're on verse 12, and it says, righteous people are nothing but a nuisance. So let's look for chances to get rid of them. They are against what we do. They accuse us of breaking the law of Moses and violating the traditions of our ancestors. They claim to know God, and they call themselves the Lord's children. The Lord's children. We can't stand the sight of people like that. What they are contradicts our whole way of thinking. They are not like other people. They have strange ways. Ooh, interesting. They think that our moral standards are so corrupt that everything we do should be avoided. They boast of having God for their father and believe that when all is said and done, only the righteous will be happy. But we'll see if that's true. Let's see what will happen when it's time for them to die. If the righteous really are God's children, God will save them from their enemies. So let's put them to the test. We'll be cruel to them and torment them. Then we'll find out how calm and reasonable they are. We'll find out just how much they can stand. We'll condemn them to a shameful death. After all, they say that God will protect them. That is how evil people think. But they are wrong. They are blinded by their own wickedness. They have never known God's secrets, never hoped for the rewards of a holy and blameless life. When God created us, He did not intend for us to die. He made us like Himself. It was the devil's jealousy that brought death into the world, and those who belong to the devil are the ones who will die. Wow. Wow, that was something, all right. That a lot of people have that type of crazy mindset, man. There's a lot of interesting thinkers out there, right? People who think they have figured out how life works. They think that, they think that their way of thinking, right, having like a liberal type of mindset, right? Anything goes, anything is good, right? And this is an attack on anybody. I'm not attacking anybody who is liberal or anything like that. I'm saying pretty much I'm saying that having a free mind, right? Having a mind that is saying that we don't need any laws, we don't need any rules, we don't need any structures, right? We'll just live a crazy life, right? And we'll live in anarchy every single day, right? And that's the way to live, right? And the fact is, right, societies would crumble without laws and structure, right? Because the fact is, what's to stop the person living next door from coming into your house, right, and raping your wife, or doing something crazy with your children, right? If there is no law and structure, and in a lot of parts of the world, that's really how it is, right? Here in the United States, a lot of people talk this liberal talk, and as far as I'm not attacking anybody. Right, we gotta be. I'm not attacking any group of people in any way, shape, or form, but I'm saying in the United States we have an imperial mentality, is what I mean to say. I'm gonna take that whole word liberal out of this, right? We have an imperial way of thinking, and we think that because we have money, we have riches, we have wealth, right? We can just live how, and we have security here because we have structure, we have police, we have military, right? And, people think that we can just, live however we want to live, right? And, we can think crazy ways, right? But what people don't realize is that there are places in the world where where when you call the police, nobody comes. Really nobody. There is no reason to even call the police because it's a good because the police are crooked. They only answer to money, and if you don't have money, the police aren't going to come and help you, right? So your next door neighbor can come over and do some terrible things and nothing will happen. There will be no repercussions. I was actually watching a video today, and in the video I was watching, there was young people who are living. It was in I think it was in it was not Sudan. It was all right. So in one of the countries in Africa, they're at a young age, a lot of young men are given guns, and they're taught that this is the only way that they're going to be able to protect themselves, protect their families, is by having weapons, and so people are dying. They're just people are just killing each other because the government doesn't care, right? There's no structure inside of the society. The only thing to stop the next door neighbor from coming in is you, and so literally it's just chaos, full on chaos, right? So honestly, it is good to have structure, right? Of course, we don't want so much structure that there's no freedom, right? People don't have freedom to speak out or say anything like that, right? No, that's not what I'm saying. But pretty much, let me just go ahead, get back to the focus of what of this whole thing, right? Too many people live with the same attitude, right? From when you look at the verses 6-9, right, which is where it was talking about people in the wisdom, right? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, right? And verses 6-9, they were talking about living enjoyous life, pretty much just enjoying the life that we have, right? Just live every day for enjoyment, right? And the problem with that issue, the issue with that is that once you build a lifestyle around that, right? You're not accomplishing anything, right? You're not, you're pretty much, you've created a habit of the only time I'm just going to live for this purpose. So, I remember when I grew up in the Bay Area, and in the Bay Area, there's a lot of homeless people. And the thing is that a lot of the people in the Bay Area, it's not even that, honestly, the people don't want to work. They don't. A lot of the people in the Bay Area, the only reason why they're there is because they're drug addicts. All they want to do is smoke, drink, and just relax all day. They only want to enjoy life every single day. And the fact is that when they die, a lot of the times, right, people pass away, and when people get sick and stuff like that, there's no help for those people, And it's a miserable way to live, to be, because really you're enslaved to whatever your drug is. The only reason why you're living is for that drug. If your drug is alcohol, then you're only living to drink alcohol, and when you're not drinking, you're miserable, and that's a problem. That's a problem when something has you like that. I went through that, right? Before I was going out drinking and smoking, partying every week, right? Then, I like a lot of people do that. They party all, and then, at the end of the day, wonder why they don't have any money. Like, what happened to all my money? How people are upset. A lot of people, they make very bad decisions and they build very bad habits, right? And the issue is that the habits that you gain in your youth, right? A lot of the time when you get older, it is very difficult, almost impossible to get away from those habits. So people who start drinking when they're 15, 16, 17 years old, right? Now they're 50 years old and, they're alcoholics. People who started smoking cigarettes, they started as a kid smoking maybe 1 cigarette, 2 cigarettes a day, and now they're smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And in California, it's like $14 a pack, right? $13 a pack. I don't even know how much it is, but you do that twice a day. If it was 14, that's $28, almost 30. Let's go ahead and round it up to $30, right? 30 times, there's 30 averages about 30 days a month. That's $900 a month, right? You average that out 12 times. That's about almost 10 grand, bro. You're spending like almost $10,000 a year. That's literally 10. What could you do with an extra $10,000? Now let's look at alcohol, right? Let's say you drink on a regular basis. You just love drinking, right? Dude, alcohol can get expensive. They got bottles out there, like I've heard of Louis the 13th or something like that, right? I think it's like $300 a shot, right? Like, alcohol is expensive, dude. Like, straight up, man. Like, you start off, I don't even know, if you're drinking 3 times a week, man, people are wasting thousands of dollars drinking alcohol, and the problem is that when you get addicted to that lifestyle, right, you've built a habit, and a habit can become, like, some people lose everything behind it. It's just like people who do gambling. It start off as just something fun, but later on, right, after you build this habit of doing something, right, the casinos, they're getting rich. And the people who go to the casinos, a lot of the people are losing their houses. I have a buddy, he went to the casino, he lost $13,000 in a matter of 8 hours, right? I know someone else who went to the casino and they lost 10 grand in a weekend, like 3 days. They're only there for 3 days, 10 grand lost. Like, dude, that is, man, 10 grand in 3 days, man. 10 That's crazy living right there, is what that is. Even if you are rich and you make $200,000-$300,000 a year, right? Consistently, if you go through the year doing that, that's foolishness. It's foolishness, right? So pretty much what I'm saying, right, is, don't a lot of people are complaining about living in terrible situations, right? But the fact is that we have to learn to control the way that we think, right? We have to develop good habits. We have to practice good habits, right? And you have to the best thing is to take notice, just like what Nick was saying, right? We were reading about Nick, and Nick was saying that in his book, right? Nick Salupo, he said that the bad habits that we have, right? Like, he was saying that like, people think a certain way, and we have to learn to control the thoughts that we have. Like, literally, we have to learn to control the thoughts that we have. We can't just allow the thoughts to just run our lives, right? We get into these bad thinking habits, and then we make bad decisions based off of bad thinking habits. And then initially, our bad decisions become habitual as well, right? Break the cycle, right? And I'll tell you right now, that was my life. Before, I always was smoking and drinking and never had any money. I remember I worked in the nightclub industry. I had no money, went to parties every weekend, but I had nothing in my bank account. I mean, I was smoking weed and cigarettes and drinking, so I felt good. And I never thought to change anything because I was basing everything off of the way that I felt, right? And we have to challenge our feelings. That's why they say mind over matter, right? That whole concept of mind over matter is that we have to learn to train our mind to control our body. That's why I go to the gym, and that's why I work out every single day. I walk between 3 to 5 miles every single day. Why? Because life is about consistency, right? I eat healthy food every single day. No cake, no candy. I eat vegetables and fruits, and I cook at home, right? I practice building this lifestyle. Why? Because our habits become our reality, right? Our habits become our reality. When I stopped drinking and smoking, and now I spend about 6 months of the year traveling internationally. I always have thousands of dollars in my bank account, right? I buy a new car every year, and I live my life serving God. My life is completely different. I'm just so grateful that, I remember too, like when I was at the end of my drinking and smoking life, I prayed to God. I said, God, I don't want to live this way anymore. Please take this desire away from me to do drink and to have sex with random people. I was struggling with that too. I had a lot of problems, right? And what I had to do is I had to get away from my old friends. Sometimes you got to be alone. Sometimes you have to be alone. And what it is that that alone time will give you, that's an opportunity for you to grow and heal, So with that, I want to say thanks for listening to the Struggling Christian podcast. Please like and subscribe for weekly podcasts. Also, follow us on Instagram at Gorilla Nature Inc. That's GORILLANATUREINC. And also follow us at Jesus Life Church International. And that's also on Instagram. And check out our website at www.gorillanaturinc.com. That's GORILLANATUREINC.com. Have a blessed week, and God bless you. See you guys in the next episode.